Hey, 422. Hope you're doing well. It's Dr. Allen. This is actually our resource video. I'm going to keep this short and sweet because a lot of the intro stuff that I was going to do for this week is in our lecture part. So, with all that being said, I'm actually going to share my screen. Forgive my chair. As always, it's a little squeaky if I'm recording in my office. But I'm going to share this. Sorry, I did not do it. Our resources. This week's is going to be a little different only because I decided to I'm going to let you all think because I think this is something that might be a little more of a personal preference than anything. But I was kind of thinking about things that some resources and all. I think I've mentioned this, but being recording these things and kind of talking to people periodically, the thing that I want you to kind of always remember with inquiry based type learning and things like that, one person that can be your best friend is a language arts or English teacher. The integrated curriculum is always awesome. I was lucky. I was at a school where for a few years we had an English teacher that was all about making things work with me. And she would pick books that kind of related to the topics we were talking about in social studies. Students pull away so much, whether it's historical fiction or a nonfiction type book. What I want you to do for your blog, I'm going to show you some stuff that I've used in the past, but what I want you to do for your blog is actually think about some type of book, novel, historical fiction, firsthand account, whatever. And I just want you to blog on it and kind of say why you think you would use it in the class, in your classroom. What grade you think it would be, um, and such. I'm not even going to ask for a standard, but just think about what grade you would kind of shoot for it. I've kind of used a lot of books in the past. I decided not to put the whole list up for you, but I'm going to go ahead and hit the blog spot here. And that's not what I want. And did I not put the resources up? That is a shame on me. I thought I did that. Well, that's not good. Oh, you know why I didn't do it? Because I'm in the wrong class. But don't worry, I'm not stopping yet. I'm going to keep going. It's Friday and it's almost 5 o'clock. Friday, October 9th. Um, Let me cruise on down here. I thought I put all this stuff up the other night. And there it is, log 7. All right. It's been a long semester, I'm sure, for you too. All right. Listen, there's a lot of different ways you can approach this. Again, I mentioned language arts. That's one way you can do it. You could assign reading in your class. One book, it's an oldie, but my students really liked it. I was at a school and we did it in 8th grade. I know a lot of times they do this in 9th grade also, but Animal Farm is a great one if you're doing the Russian Revolution. Students seem to really like the allegory, and it's a short book. It's a little over 100 pages, and it's usually one of those real small ones. I was looking to see if I had Animal Farm in my office. I think I left my copy downstairs. I did. Hold on, sorry, I'm going to look. I did. I thought I had it down there. I do not. But if you don't know the story of Animal Farm, it's about Napoleon the pig. Yes, the name is kind of, again, relates to like a dictator type thing. They overthrow the farm. Gets into all types of communist versus democracy type issues. There's allegories, and again, there's a summary of this. I have this up on the Sakai site if you ever want to check it out. It's under class handouts. There's a whole bunch of Animal Farm things. There's movies that we will watch and talk about the differences. As you can see, totalitarianism, Russian language, class warfare, Soviet Union. It's an Orwellian book, so it's kind of got a lot of people really like Orwell. This is actually my favorite Orwell book. I like it more than 1984, but a lot of people, I think, like 1984 better. That's one I used. Another one that I used, especially with 9th graders, I think a lot of you have probably read it, was when we did Holocaust type things in world history, we would do night. A lot of times they would read that in language arts or English. If you were doing something, Elie Wiesel, that's one. Also, there's one, I'm thinking about it because my son's reading in middle school. There was a book, I don't have it up here on the list, but it was called My Brother Sam is Dead. Don't want to ruin the book, but actually that's what happens. His brother Sam dies, and it's basically about the two sides of the American Revolution, loyalists and revolutionaries, and a father and a son, and then the other son or brother is caught in the middle. It's really good. It gets into a lot of heavy topics, I think, especially for a middle schooler, and it's written very well. But again, that's called My Brother Sam is Dead. There's some that are on, there's one book called No Promises in the Wind I've read. It's another middle schooler. So my background's mostly middle school. It gets into the Great Depression type things and Hoovervilles and things like that. So those are a few that I've used. Again, think about some things that you might use. I really like these things. You just have to watch which ones you have and whether they're appropriate. Make sure you always read everything beforehand. But I think graphic novels aren't a bad thing all the time either if you can get some as a classroom set. A very popular one right now is March. Um, Deals with the civil rights movement, and it's trilogy. There's multiple books. Actually, I've seen it over at Four Seasons bookstore over in Shepherdstown. If you ever want to check out a copy, and I know Books a Million has it also. John Lewis was associated with it. So if you want to kind of check that out, I put a review from NPR right there if you're interested in that. I mentioned this in another lecture, if you were listening, the Harlem Hellfighters. It's another one that I used. I was talking about how I got permission from his mom and she let him read it because they were a pretty comic driven family. And he really liked it. This is by Max Brooks, the guy who did World War Z. I will tell you, I think it actually does have a little bit of language. And I think there is it doesn't show anything, but there is a relationship that's in it and it alludes to some stuff. Again, check it out. I actually have copies of this and the other one, March, if you ever want to check them out. But Harlem Hellfighters, a lot of students really like it. It's about a group that they fight in World War I. I would definitely recommend more for high school and middle school though. So, and definitely you might want to check that out. Do I have any other on there? Oh, I think even I put this up here because I saw it and it just so happened. I told my son, I'm going to check this out. My son reads comics, and I guess when I was a kid, I read them. So sometimes I'll catch it. And we like those the Marvel MCU movies. But there was one called Captain America: Man Out of Time, and I actually just went ahead since that was a used copy. As you can see, I think you can get it. Well, I got it cheaper. Oh yeah, I had gotten like a $3 version on Amazon. You can tell this from a library. I don't know if you can see it. But I thought that even parts of this, if you were really trying to catch some students' attention, would be interesting because it has parts, not the whole thing, but there's parts where he goes back to the 50s and he finds out that maybe things weren't as good, or once he knows things could get better in some ways than they were back then. A lot of it has to do with, I don't know if you can see it, but he goes to a Brooklyn Dodgers game and he realizes that the seating is segregated and he goes to sit in the segregated section, and Captain America catches it throws people off and he doesn't understand why. And he sees that there's been improvements in society and such. So that's one. And even the way that taxes are paid and such, it's not bad. I have it if you ever want to borrow it. I don't know if I would do the whole thing, but definitely maybe have students read captions or parts of it. Another one, I mean, I'm fine. I buy these things. I go to Second and Charles and grab them. I found one graphic novel on the Trinity. It's on the atomic bomb. There's also one on the Constitution, graphic novel. I don't even have it here. I think I left it in my office. I have one on the 9/11 report. It's a graphic novel, and it was actually highly reviewed because it kind of summarizes everything. There's one on the Pentagon Papers. There's a lot, and I think there's something to these graphic novels. I think students are more prone to read them a lot of times because they don't look as daunting as sometimes a regular book. That's a whole other thing, and that can be good or bad. I guess you can get into whether students should be learning how to read more like an adult, or is it more important that you're reading. I'm just talking about it as a resource in my class so my students understand what I'm talking about. With all that being said, gosh, I'm thinking of a whole list. I don't see it in here too. I also bought one on Hamilton because after the play came out, there was a whole one on Alexander Hamilton, and it was fantastic. It wasn't based on the play. It was just based on the life. It was a biography of Alexander Hamilton. I got that at Second and Charles also. My son goes up there looking for Pops. If any of those interest you, you're welcome to maybe say you would want to borrow them or check them out or say you would use it. But with all that being said, the resources are basically think about some things that your students can read in the class. I know this one's a little more vague than some of the other blogs, but that's all I want you to kind of do. Is there a book reading, graphic novel, something supplemental that students can look at that you would use as a resource in your class, and what grades would it be for, and why would you use it? You do those things, it's all good. So I'm going to stop sharing. I wanted to keep this short because at the beginning of the semester I said I would keep these short, and I talk. I can't help it. Sorry. It's what I'm paid to do. Hope you're having a good weekend. Since I'm recording this on a Friday, I'll go ahead and throw that out there. And be sure to watch the lecture video. We're over halfway done. So catch you later. Bye.